Alright, well, I guess this is the way down. And we're down.
This video is going to be a bit of a longer one for me. I want to show how much effort it takes to find Lake Superior Agates and all the spots that I go to that aren't exactly it. In the end, this cloudy weekend slowly transforms to become one of the best Lake Superior agate hunts, or possibly the best, that I've ever had.
It's a very small spot with limited shoreline. Yeah, this spot, not exactly it. Hey, okay. Alright, let's try out this spot. It's a public beach, but there's like no traffic here at all. Maybe we're the only ones that have hit the spot for the day. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Unfortunately for me, as someone who likes to find rocks, a lot of the beaches in this area near Ontonagon, Michigan are pretty much all sand.
Ooh, it's all sand here too. Huh. Interesting. Is there any rocks on the edge? Maybe. There's a few. Let's at least take a look. There's a patch of them down here also. Okay. Well, I'm glad I came down here. It's at least a pile of rocks again instead of just sand. I think it's all basalt, but different color, I'm not quite sure. This looks like oolitic jasper of some sort. Not the greatest piece, I'll toss it back. Oh, agate? Maybe? No. Oh, what is that big thing right there? Hang on. No. Look right here though, something. That's a small little agate, I believe. Yeah, it is. I think it would have been better if it was a little bit of a calmer day. The lake is pretty rough today.
This was the second to last spot that I went to for the day, and just like the ones before it, it looked pretty good on a satellite map, but once you get there, it was all sand. Eventually, the clouds lifted, and my final spot was a beautiful one, but still, no rocks on the beach. I only learned this after returning home, but most of the spots that I'd visited today are covered by the Freitas sandstone, which makes finding things like Lake Superior agates pretty difficult and challenging.
The birds seem to like it here. Look at those footprints.
After an entire day and about 100 miles of driving up the coast of Michigan, that little agate is all I had to show for it. After striking out for pretty much an entire day before, I was determined to change my luck the next day. Years ago, before starting my channel, I've had really good luck looking for agates up near the beaches of Calumet, Michigan.
And this right here, if it looks like concrete, that's because it is. The entire road above me eroded and caved in, and they got it blocked off. There's a tiny little Omar. Oh, this is a cool one right here. That red line divides it into two tones. That's really cool. Here's a real bright green epidote. A lot of green rock up here in the Keweenaw Peninsula. Oh, how about this? That's some really vibrant color. Wow. Too big to really do anything with, but oh. That
is our first good find of the day. Finally, we were onto something good, and while it's not an agate, this was an absolutely beautiful piece of prehnite that had a lot of cool colorations and twists and turns to it, including that big orange patch right on the side. So definitely a fan of this one, and it's in my collection now.
Here's a great piece of unikite. Looks like it has algae on it, but that's all just in the rock. That's an excellent piece right here. I wish I picked this one up on camera, but I did not. I set it back down. It's by my foot. Let me show you. Check this one out. Doesn't look like much, right? But then right on this edge here, it is a big agate. Bright white. I haven't ever found a white Lake Superior agate yet like this, so that's cool. Lots more dry stuff now up over here. This looks like a beautiful piece of epidote right here. I want to get this wet. It almost looks like jade. I don't think there's any jade in the UP though. Oh, would you look at that?
Yep, this is a huge chunk of copper ore, the first time I've ever found anything close to this size. And I learned a painful lesson, which is don't yell directly into a windproof mic because it ruins the footage.
I found just little bits and pieces of copper for the first time down on the border of Michigan and Wisconsin, but this is just next level. This one's huge. Yeah, if you don't like spiders, maybe not the place or activity for you. Lots of spiders in these big rock piles. These are really cool amygdala basalt. That's completely dry. And the colors are so vibrant. Oh yeah. Alright, I promise I have not picked it up yet. I have a crazy one underneath my foot. Alright, come on. Oh, wow. Here's an extra zoomed in look at it. That is so pretty.
While I can't say for certain, I'm about 80% of the way sure that this is a pretty decent sized agate nodule, and at some point, I'm going to have a really hard time not cutting this one open. This rock was actually going to be my thumbnail until this next part happened. As you can probably guess, I didn't just suddenly stumble across this giant pile of agates. Someone poured them out right next to me. The man that I'm talking to, I only met him about 30 seconds ago when recording this. He started throwing fistfuls of these into Lake Superior, coming up out of nowhere right behind me.
That's just wild. Where are most of these from?
He had been collecting these agates for years upon years, along with some members of his family, and said that I could take whatever I liked. It was really hard not to overdo it, so I just picked out my favorites.
Well, that's one of the strangest things to ever happen to me while out looking for rocks, is someone comes out and he just started throwing handfuls and handfuls and handfuls of these agates back into Lake Superior behind me. He said it was a Swedish tradition called death cleaning, where you get rid of all your junk in the event that you die. He said I can take whatever I want, and then whatever I don't want, go ahead and launch it back into Lake Superior where it came from. So we'll honor that and I guess go ahead and complete his death cleaning. Time to hold up our end of the deal. This is kind of painful, but they weren't mine in the first place, and this is where he wanted them.
And just to be clear, I did ask permission to take video, but I chose not to put him in it, just because it seemed kind of like a private and sentimental moment that was special just to return his finds back to nature.
I know that entire exchange sounds like bizarre and not real, but he literally just came from right where that black fence is. I don't know how to really describe it, but the fact that he wanted to give some to me is super cool. So I wanted to make sure I, followed through on what he wanted and threw him back in there.
And finally, at the end of this beach, is when I started pulling out my best finds of the day. One of my favorite parts about exploring the Keweenaw Peninsula and all of its rocks is a lot of them have this deep blue or green color because of all the copper up here. This is another piece of prehnite, and after spending a lot of time at this beach, it's quickly becoming one of my favorite rocks to find up here. Something about that blue color.
All right, what's underneath? Oh, Is that an agate?
After picking this one up, I yelled so loudly into my windproof mic that it pretty much just ruined all the footage. In a second here, we're going to pull out the macro lens now that I'm back home, and we're going to take a closer look at this thing and try to determine whether or not it really is an agate. Some closer-ups of why I think this is actually an agate. It might have some tubes in it as well if you look at those little brown dots that are in focus now. And then here's a look at some of the larger crystal portions that are on there. I'm still not super good with this macro lens, but trying to just get some better up-close footage because I was super excited about this one. And the part that really makes me think that it's an agate is this right here on the backside. All these tight, intricate bands. I'm not quite sure what type of agate it is, but it definitely seems like it's got the right characteristics to be called one. But that's a big part of why I make the videos in the first place. So leave me a comment and let me know what you think this is.
I'm about to turn around here soon, but I think I might have found another one here like 15 yards down the beach. Here, let's flip the camera and do it this way. Oh, look at that. It's got pink banding in it. How about the backside? Backside's pretty plain, but I don't know if it's truly an agate.
Well, it's not an agate. This one's pretty beautiful. However, I'm kind of drawing a blank on the name. It might be something called patricianite. I'm not sure.
Anything? Ooh. I see some banding right by my thumb here. Green as well. Oh, wow.
It only took a single afternoon here to have a pretty good collection of prehnite, and I think this is one of my favorite pieces. Since you made it this far, you might as well check out the biggest one that I was able to find all day. Still, I'm not sure if it's an agate or not.
All right, what about this one? Oh, if you cut it straight down the middle, like between my thumb and my pinky, down that line, I wonder what you'd see. There is clear viewing windows in this thing also, up in this top part here, on this corner. Here's this real big one, also under the macro lens. It has some similar characteristics to the other large one that we found, and not as much banding on this one, so I think overall, I'm hesitant to call this an agate, but it might just be one.
This spot greatly exceeded my expectations, and it was honestly a nice reward after all the effort that I put in the day before and not really finding much of anything. As hard as a lot of things in this video are to believe, that big shiny agate that's right in the front of this pile, yeah, I found that right as my camera died and I was turning around. And honestly, you and I both know it would be awful karma to lie about something like that after the universe was kind enough to give me all these rocks today. Oh, and that kind stranger too. Normally, I try to share all the locations that I go to in these videos with you guys, but right now, I'm actually working on a project to make that a little bit easier, so I guess consider that a teaser. If you guys made it all the way to the end, I really hope you enjoyed. If you want to keep watching, you can find my most recent video linked here.